Your thoughts?
What? What? Who?
Nice.
Welcome to the start of this week, 9:05. That's the time on this 20th day of May. It's our daily show. CJ Nasello here with you, and this is going to be an interesting week for all of us. You know, let me just set the tone here. Set the table. You know, on Wednesday I am going to be doing the show live, and then Thursday and Friday I'll be doing the show live, but a little bit of a taped live. I'm going out to Vegas this week, so this is the fun part for me. All last weekend I was messaging people and just trying to line up those shows and make sure that we got guests, so that way I didn't play best ofs for you. You had a reason to tune in, and now you do. We are lined up and really loaded with great shows Thursday, Friday, and Memorial Day Monday. When I'm gone, I'll be back live on Tuesday, but for the next 2 days, you're stuck with me, and we got a great lineup of guests, too. We're going to be starting our first segment with Grid Solar today, and we're going to learn all about the solar industry. We're going to be talking about a really cool and actually a pretty big talent show that's coming to the Alton area, but we're going to reschedule that one due to just everyone not feeling the best. We'll do that next Tuesday at 9:20. So looking forward to all of that coming down the pipeline the rest of this week today, and just getting all this hard work or getting all this stuff done and rushing to relax. You know, that's life. Hey, at 9:06, here's what's happening around the River Bend. We'll take you to Alton first. Man, this went nuts on Facebook. A local man hit the jackpot big time, winning $10 million from the Illinois Lottery's $50 scratch-off ticket. The winning ticket was purchased at a Casey's General Store on Fosterburg Road in Alton, earning the store a $100,000 selling bonus. Happy faces all the way around. Store manager Kathy expressed her happiness for the customers, saying the win couldn't have happened to a better family. The anonymous winner plans to use the prize money to start a college fund for his daughter, buy a bigger house with more garage space for vintage car, and invest the majority to provide for his family and future grandchildren. Two more $10 million prizes and 15 $1 million prizes are still available in Illinois, and I'd only take 5,000 of it. We'll take you to DePlain next. A 37-year-old man from DePlain, Illinois, has been charged with 2 counts of theft after allegedly deceiving a 73-year-old woman out of nearly $150,000. Here's the latest. This is out of Krugerrand Gold Coins. Legneesh Kumar H. Patel reportedly orchestrated a false identity theft scam, convincing the victim to purchase gold coins and transfer them to her. Under the guise of a federal investigation, the scam involved provided a false security code to gain the victim's trust. Patel, previously arrested for a similar crime in Wisconsin, faces a Class 1 and a Class 2 felony. He remains in custody pending his initial court appearance, and all charges in this case are based upon probable cause. Patel is considered innocent until proven guilty. Back here locally, Sparks Junk Removal and Hauling, led by Denise Sparks, has celebrated 31 years of service in the River Bend region. Known as the Queen of Junk, Sparks attributes the company's success to her hardworking team. The business offers extensive services, including demolition, hauling, and valet pickup for elderly and disabled customers. Sparks emphasizes exceptional customer care and community contributions while also striving to stay eco-friendly. That's big for Sparks Junk Removal and Hauling. Despite challenges in recycling, the team ensures proper waste separation. Sparks urges those dissatisfied with their current trash service to consider reliable, customer-focused offerings that they have in store. For more details and to join on with the now 31-year-old business, you can visit sparksjunkremoval.net today. In sports, East St. Louis achieved a remarkable sweep of the relay races as they entered at the Class 2 and Class 3A IHSA State Girls Track Finals that were held Saturday at Eastern Illinois University in their O'Brien Stadium. Mount Prospect clinched the Class 3A title with 53 points, narrowly surpassing Huntley's 50 points. Key performances include Kata Austin of Cahokia winning the 100 and 200 meter in Class 2A, and Becca Hetzig of Lincoln claiming victories in the 800 and 1600 meters. Notable field event winners were Olivia Marshall in shot put and discus, Zoriah Burnett in high jump, and overall, the event, it showcased exceptional talent and competition, and East St. Louis dominating that IHSA Class 2A and 3A state final. In Alton, Kalia Spitz and Tucker Gehrig of Alton High School were recognized as Students of the Month for April by the Rotary Club of Alton and Godfrey at Jitlin's on Broadway. Kalia, a senior with a 4.389 GPA, has taken 12 advanced placement or dual credit courses, earning college credits and accolades such as Illinois Scholar and Silver Medallion. Her extensive involvement includes the American Sign Language Club, Physics Club, the school's orchestra, and Kalia also volunteers significantly, including 100 hours for the Alton Band and Orchestra Builders and 80 hours for Impact Life. She plans to major in biological sciences at SIUE, aiming to protect local waterways. And Tucker, a senior at Alton High School and the son of Mary, has been honored by the Rotary Club as well. Tucker credits his family for their unwavering support. During his high school years, he completed 22 and 12 dual credit courses, allowing him to enter college as a sophomore this fall. With a 4.8 GPA, that's incredible. He earned accolades like Platinum Alpha and Illinois State Scholar. Active in numerous clubs and sports, Tucker has also excelled in Scholar Bowl, achieving national recognition. And post-graduation, he plans to major in chemistry at SLU on a pre-med track, aspiring to become a cardiologist. Congratulations to both students on those recognitions. That's a really great feat. Let's take a look at weather today before we keep this show moving on a Monday morning. It's 78 degrees, but man, it feels like 140 out there. It's humid. Today, partly sunny and very warm. A thunderstorm in spots this afternoon. Tonight, mostly cloudy and warm. Temperatures right now at 78 degrees, real feel 83 degrees. Temperatures will reach up to 86 today and drop down to 67 overnight. There is a 40% chance of thunderstorms throughout the afternoon. Tuesday is when the alert day is going to be coming on. I know that all the St. Louis weather stations have said that Tuesday is going to be the chance for some severe storms, so just be mindful for Tuesday. Tuesday, temperatures reach 90 degrees and drop down to 65 overnight heading into Wednesday, where you can expect 72 for the high and 57 for the low. That's a major cool down. On Thursday, a high of 78, a low of 61, and on Friday, a 50% chance of rain, a high of 82, a low of 62. The air quality in the area at 41, that's good. Grass at 2, that's low. Mold is low. Ragweed, low. Trees and tree pollen, low. And the UV index is at a 10, meaning it's very high today. So wear some sunscreen if you're going to go out in the yard today and do a bunch of that yard work and all the other outside activities you're planning on doing. For time and temperature throughout the day, you can always call this number, 618-465-4545, this time powered by Bounce Back, Rehab, Recover, and Return Home, and make sure you sign up for our weather alerts where you could stay up to date and in the know on all things that are breaking, especially when the severe weather comes. You need to know it in an instant's notice. And we're really proud here at riverbender.com because we have a weather alert system that actually notifies you a couple of seconds to a couple of minutes faster than some of the other services. And that's important because in the case of a tornado or an instant's notice, you need to know right away. And we're really proud of that here. Before I send you to Skycam, let me fill you in on Village Dispensary. You need to head on over where quality cannabis and friendly faces await you. They've got something for everyone, from vapes and flower to topical tinctures, edibles, concentrates, accessories. I'm telling you what, you'll feel like you're in Weedtopia. How about that? Their inventory bigger than Cheech and Chong's stash. We're talking vapes, topicals, tinctures, concentrates, accessories. The friendly staff will have you in and out faster than you can say up in smoke. Locally owned and community focused, union built. Village Dispensary believes in quality and good times. You can check out villagedispo.com to see their fantastic selection. And when you visit, don't forget to tell them that CJ sent you over their way. That's Village Dispensary or villagedispo.com. That's villagedispo.com. Let's take a look at Skycam. Let's see if it looks as hot as it feels like out there. And then when we come back, we'll have more of our daily show hitting you right here on riverbender.com. See you in a bit.
I had an amazing experience with Dr. Haug and her team. I came here when I was 10 years old to get my braces on. Now I'm 28 years old, braces off, and I get so many compliments on my smile. It's helped me thrive in my career as a news reporter, and also as Miss Missouri USA, I took the stage with confidence, knowing my smile was gonna make me look like $1 million. I've never felt better and more confident because of my smile.
Life's better when you're under the American Family Insurance roof because they know your house is home base for their dreams. Whether it's a kid like me aiming for the big leagues, ready, future rocket scientist, or a budding prima ballerina. When you feel totally protected, your family's free to pursue their dreams. She's good.
Let's go.
American Family Insurance.
No matter the season, Play It Again Sports in Edwardsville has the gear the athletes need to get in the game. Whether you're shopping for the newest sports equipment or saving money on quality used gear, Play It Again Sports carries what you need to maximize performance to get the most out of every swing, kick, stroke, or shot. We'll even buy your used goods, paying cash on the spot. We carry all the gear for all the sports all year long. We're your hometown sporting goods store. Play It Again Sports, conveniently located at 4 Club Center Court in Edwardsville. Picture This and More has been a trusted name in the Alton community for more than 30 years, with the last 3 being right here on Broadway. We specialize in quality framing at affordable prices. We also feature works by local artists because we're proud of our community. If you have valued treasures to display and preserve, we're sure to have the perfect fit with our large selection of custom framing and display options. Whatever color, shape, or size, Picture This and More has the look you need. Stop by today and let us help you with your next project.
You're listening to Our Daily Show with CJ Nasello on Riverbender.com.
Take you with you when you go. That land of gentle breezes where the peaceful waters flow. Spread your tiny wings and fly away. And take the snowbird with you where it came from on that day. The one I love forever is untrue.
Welcome back. 9:18, little bit of change on this Monday morning. And you know, this weekend was actually kind of good for me because I had a couple of different things to do and just getting caught up. I didn't realize, I guess with Christmas, because it starts to slow down, in the December months, that it just kind of felt normal to get all those interviews done. But man, how much time it takes to book 3 shows, that you're taping. Because live's different. You just keep going and normally they just show up. Just kidding. It takes more work than that. But it's like, man, it all hit me at once, and now I'm ready to go. You know what I'm saying here? So with that being said, if you're just tuning in, we have a bunch of great shows lined up for you Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Thursday, Friday, and Monday, and then we'll be back live in the studio on Tuesday. But all 3 days, brand new shows. We're taping them just like they would be live, so you can hang out with me and all that fun stuff. But, last week, I had the chance to talk to Ann Montgomery, who is one of my favorite people. I mean, every time I talk to her, she's just so nice and just a genuine person. Well, she wrote a new book, and it's called Your Forgotten Sons. And it's, a really telling novel. And it's the story on how the book came about is a story in itself that honestly deserves a book to be written about that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it was just incredible. So this is about Bud Richardville being inducted into the Army as the United States prepared for their invasion of Europe in 1943. Now, a chance comment has Bud assigned to what they call the Graves Registration Service, where the unit is tasked with locating, identifying, and burying the dead. And Ann stopped by on the show via Zoom and talked about how she really developed this book, how it came about, and really just what's inside. Now, the book is set to be released in just a few short days. We're talking June the 6th on the anniversary of D-Day, and she's also wanting to let you know, too, that if you go to Amazon or AnnMontgomeryWriter.com, you can pre-order the book, and it'll be coming to your inbox if you get it digitally, or if you get a physical copy, that'll be coming too. But always great to chat with Ann. She's one of the first women, female sportscasters for ESPN, and just does a fantastic job. And, now she's an author and doing some good stuff. And I wanted to replay this just because if you missed it, we didn't get a write-up out on it yet. This is something kind of good to play. And with us kind of rescheduling, not at the last minute, but close enough, I just figured why not talk about this again, and we'll come back and do our normal business here right around 9:40. But this is our conversation we had with Ann Montgomery, and we'll play it for you now. The time's 9:20 right here on riverbender.com. Man, it feels like Miami down here. Welcome to this Thursday morning, and we have some humidity in Illinois for the first time in a while. It feels like Florida.
Well, we don't have any because I live in the desert in Arizona, so we don't even understand what humidity means.
No,
so.
I've always wondered that, Ann. Is a dry heat still a heat? Because I've never been...
Oh, hell yes. I mean, last summer... We had, 53 or 56 days over 110.
That's right.
And 115 was more normal. We treat it like you treat winter. We don't go out. We don't go out in it. The people that are out in the summer here are tourists because we just run to our cars. And when you put your seatbelt on, you get like second-degree burns.
Oh, I bet.
It's really, now we get used to it. We do. But it's like, I know in Illinois, I'm guessing you have darkness and cold and gray and so you get used to it. So,
and that's just summer. No, I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Well, this is really cool. Last year, Ann, you were on and we had a really great conversation. And now this time around, we're talking Your Forgotten Sons. This is a really, really cool book. And just the story on how this came together. Take it away, Senator. The floor is yours. How did this come about?
Yeah, all of my books so far to date have been about Arizona, places in Arizona, locations and different stories. But this was very different. A dear friend who I've known for 40 years, I met her when I worked for my first TV station in Columbus, Georgia. She called me and she said, I need you to come to Johns Hopkins Hospital because I have to have surgery and I might be paralyzed from the waist down. Now, why did she call me? Her husband is a soldier who did 3 tours, Afghanistan, Iraq, and he cannot be in hospitals. There was a very bad situation where his men were dying in a hospital in Iraq, I think. And so he couldn't handle it. So she said, come be my healthcare power of attorney. I said, of course. So I flew to Baltimore, and the night before the surgery, she hands me this Ziploc bag of old letters. And she said, no matter what happens to me, I want you to promise that you will tell Bud's story. And because I wanted to make her feel better, I went, okay, of course, right. I'll do anything, right? And the bottom line is she had a tumor wrapped around her spine, and they removed it, and she walked out of the hospital, but I had made a promise.
Yep.
So Sergeant Bud Richardville was her uncle. Her mother was one of those people who had babies like 20 years apart.
Oh, okay.
He's actually her direct uncle, even though she's in her 60s, so her mother was pretty old when she had her. And so she grew up with these pictures of this soldier on the wall at home that never came home from World War II. And turns out he worked, when they inducted him, they put him in the Graves Registration Service. Do you know what that is?
I do not actually.
It's part of the quartermasters, and the quartermasters are, of course, people that supply everything. Without them, there's no war.
Mm-hmm.
But the Graves Registration Service are the guys that locate, identify, and bury the dead.
Oh, wow.
Now, think about that job.
Yeah.
Think about it. Now, I was unable to get any of Bud's military records because in 1973, the military personnel records depository in St. Louis burned to the ground. 80% of all their records from, I think, 1912 to 1960 were destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
Bud's among them. So I had no physical records. So I'm like, how am I supposed to find out what happened to this man and where he was when I have no military records? Well, I started going by the dates on postmarks on the letters that she gave me. Some of these letters were to his mother. Some were to his wife, brand new wife. He just met a week before he left. Some were to his sister. And I had to follow where he was. By following those postmarks, I sensed he'd been at Normandy when he landed at Normandy. He was at the Battle of the Bulge. He was with Patton's Third Army in Czechoslovakia when they were trying to take that country back from the Nazis. So I followed those. I wasn't sure until after the book went to press. I got a copy of his obituary that ran in a newspaper in Vincennes, Indiana, which is where he was from. And it proved that I was right.
Wow.
That he had been in all these places. And so his job, along with the men he served with, he hit the beaches at Normandy. Well, guess what? There are thousands of dead.
Yep.
And not just bodies, but pieces of bodies. And I will tell you now that this book is necessarily gruesome. It really is horrible. If you've ever seen the first 24 minutes of Saving Private Ryan, not Saving Private Ryan. Yeah, Saving Private Ryan.
Yep.
Where they hit the beach. It's like that. But now the camera pans away and their bodies are everywhere. Now they've got to be collected. They've got to be identified. We've got to do something with them, not only because of the disease factor, but because you've got more men coming through there, and it's the morale factor. It's the idea that what do you do when you got 18-year-old soldiers who are hitting the beaches going, crap, there are thousands of dead people here. So the Graves registration guys had to immediately go in, and they dug temporary graves near the beach, and then they had to move them later and build cemeteries. And today there are, in 36 different countries, there are American cemeteries that were built by the Graves Registration Service. So that was Bud's job.
I couldn't.
And
I just couldn't, because we had the chance, I did, to go to Normandy or go into France and see all the flags there that are lined up in that memorial, and or not flags, the poppy flowers that are all down. It's so beautiful in France. But I couldn't imagine that, Ann. I mean, you're going and removing a fallen soldier that, like you said, it could be bits of somebody that's just,
a foot. And if you were at Normandy, Bud helped to build that cemetery, and the one in Luxembourg, and the one in Epinal. I mean, all of them were built by this Graves Registration Service. So you had taken he was a happy-go-lucky guy. He was a little bit of a womanizer. The women loved him. He was handsome and charming. And he had very little education. But he went to work in he was a logger. So he went to work in the paper mills in Michigan, which were an essential military business.
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't get drafted till he was 29. So because the military needed paper.
Makes sense. It makes total sense when you say that. Yep, because you can't.
My dad worked for Westinghouse. He didn't get drafted till a little later either, because he was working. It was an industry that was needed by the military. So by the time Bud was drafted, he was 29 years old, which made him like a different generation from the 17 and 18-year-olds that were in his unit. So you've got these young boys, and they get thrown on the beaches, and they say, pick up all the parts. Find the pieces and identify them. Now, how do you do? Some of them, maybe they had a tattoo or a religious medal or a label in their clothing, but this is what these guys did. every day.
Well, and did it, Ann, while there's fighting going on? I mean,
They were right behind the troops. And when one of Bud's letters, these guys were embarrassed to admit what they were doing. Many of them wanted out and they couldn't get out. And they said, look, someone has to do this job. And the military said, this is your job. Go do it. And it was very difficult. They didn't tell their family members. Bud didn't tell his family members what he was doing, except for his brother-in-law, who was Regina's father.
Okay.
So he said, yes, I'm in the Graves unit. And one letter said, I'm not embarrassed. We're doing an important job. We even got an accommodation, which we figured was from the Battle of the Bulge. They're right there. The bullets are still flying in some cases.
Yeah.
And even worse than being in the battles are the situations where they have to go back a long time later. And how did honestly, there've been no movies, no books. When we talk about war, we see planes fall from the sky, we see guys shoot each other, and then the camera moves on and the carnage remains. So we never see that part.
Right.
It was very hard for me to find any research on this until I found a book called Crosses in the Wind. And it was written by a man who was in the Graves Registration Service, a man who became a Lieutenant Colonel Shulman. And he wrote 2 years after the war what that was like and wrote specific instances where these men worked. And I took some of his descriptions and gave them to Bud because, quite honestly, this is a book inspired. It's inspired by a true story.
Right.
Based on a true story would mean that everything is true. Every conversation is true. Every character is true. But I couldn't do that. I didn't know who his friends were. I didn't know exactly where he was. So I took Shulman's information and I put Bud in some of those situations. And the most harrowing one was a couple of weeks after Normandy. They sent these guys back to the beach. And you know what a Higgins boat is? It's the boat that drops down and all the guys burn. Yeah. One of those boats had been hit with a shell and it flipped, and there were men in it. Now this is like a couple weeks later, and they're underwater.
Oh no!
They're under now. We're talking no scuba tanks, no nothing. These guys, they said, okay, go down and get the bodies. Go down in the water. They've been down there a while, and bring up what's left. And that's what they did.
Well, and who knows, I mean, I hate to sound morbid, but after a couple of weeks of floating in water, I mean, your body's already breaking down and who knows what's there to, I mean, no telling what's going to happen when you go in that water.
Right. And the men had to be very careful because there was metal, there could be unexploded ordnance, that kind of thing. But they couldn't say, no, we're not going to do it.
Right. Well,
and so they had to go in, and that was one of the most harrowing things. And then on top of that, they had to liberate the death camp. And once the death camps were liberated, somebody had to clean it up. These were the guys. And you could see in his letters how he disintegrated over this time.
Yeah. And that's what, I mean, to me, there's no more crucial job because the way you described it, I mean, you're right. You have to be there to bury those individuals, those fallen soldiers, because just the morale thing alone, you're storming the beaches and you're seeing bodies just piling up. I mean, you aren't running in the foxhole anymore. You're thinking it's over, and not just that, but I mean, just the fact that for him to look at a soldier in the face knowing there's a good chance that I'm going to be picking you up without you looking back at me is really powerful. Yeah. I mean, really.
The sad thing, well, there were a lot of sad things, clearly, but it wasn't just Allied soldiers. They had to pick up everybody. So they often, they had to get all the German soldiers too. You can't have any bodies because there can be disease happens. And again, the morale issue. So it was a horrible job. And there was one scene that broke my heart, and it was where the men in the Graves registration units had trucks full of bodies that they were moving to a cemetery, and there were a group of American soldiers marching down the road that they were on. And when the soldiers saw them, they turned their backs on them. They just turned and wouldn't look at them, like they weren't doing an important job. And what I've learned is that these guys have never gotten any recognition. No one ever said good for you or patted them on the back. And I think it's heartbreaking because you cannot tell me that these men who came home didn't come home with deep invisible wounds that no one ever allowed them to talk about.
Well, and I couldn't imagine holding that role, and I just couldn't, because I'd be somebody that immediately, the moment I have to, start doing that process, I think about everyone's relatives and what, all of those really it's really important conversations on, man, what about his mom? What about his dad? Did he have kids? I couldn't do that job mentally today.
They would have made you.
Exactly.
They would have made you do it. And the thing is, some of the, Bud, because he was older, he was made a sergeant before he went to war, even though he came in as just a regular guy. Mm-hmm. Because he was older, the young kids kind of would go to him and he would help them. He was a good guy. Go ahead.
Sorry for cutting. Was there any correlation or any type of thoughts in his letters about, being an older guy around some of the younger men? Were there any generational, gaps or any, writings on, man, these guys are wild, or what are they saying,
They were not allowed to talk about other soldiers or where they were. But the other thing is that he was an uneducated man. His letters were pretty basic for the most part. Mm-hmm. And they were, the guys were also told, don't tell your family bad things. Don't tell them what they're doing. He never even told his mother or his wife what he did. Because how do you explain that? Now think about it. You're supposed to go to war and take that hill and be a hero. And he's over there picking up bodies. So they very often didn't mention it. And I only saw him mention it once to his brother-in-law.
Well, I mean, my heart breaks for that, though, because they're as much a part of the fight than anybody. And, and they had to show more compassion too and more human-like qualities, because you're fighting your enemy and you're trying to get bodies cleared out and you're trying to do your job. And here's a Nazi soldier that's in front of you. And instead of doing what a lot of, I'm sure, grunt soldiers would want to do and, light him up or whatever, you're treating him with dignity to make sure that soldier is being buried somewhere and being accounted for. And that, to me, is, you have to be a certain human to be able to really do those things.
Well, I think, to me, it's probably the most difficult job in the military.
100%.
And where do we go today when we honor people that fought in World War II, World War I? They've always been these people.
Yeah.
We go to the cemeteries that they built. And you've been to them. I've been to them. They are graceful and beautiful and peaceful. Where we had killing fields are now beautiful places of remembrance that they built.
I didn't think about that. I didn't even think about that aspect of it.
Nobody does. Every time I say it, they go, I never thought about where the bodies went. Well, today, of course, we still have, it's called mortuary affairs today. Since Vietnam, they've called it mortuary affairs. But we do not bury them on foreign soil anymore. We fly them home. But we didn't have that ability in World War II. There were also so many people dying so quickly that they buried them there. Now, some people got their family members back. They had a choice. But the military said, sign this paper and we're leaving them wherever they are. So we were hoping to bring Bud home. He's buried in Epinal, France, buried by the men he worked with. And but the military owns him now, so we will probably never get to do that.
Well, and that's a whole nother aspect that I've never even thought of, too, is, I'm sure there's so many millions of Americans that want their loved one back home with them rather than over on foreign soil. And that's
families signed those papers. And
did they?
Look, yeah.
Okay.
What they'd say is your family member died. They've been buried here because we're in the middle of a war. They couldn't, we didn't have the capacity to ship all these bodies home at that point. We were in the middle of a war for 4 years.
Right.
So today we can put them on a plane and they'll be back here in your home in 24 hours. But there wasn't like that then. So they told the families at the end of the war, they said, here, we can leave them where they are in these cemeteries we built. If you'd like them to come home, fine. But if not, we'll give you a paycheck. Here's some money. And many families took the money.
Oh, I didn't.
Now, I'm not criticizing.
No,
that at all.
yeah, totally.
That was the case.
But I'm learning, though. I always love chatting. Even last year I was learning stuff. And it's funny. Someone texts me. They go, CJ, why do you always seem excited whenever you kind of you don't know where to go with something. I go, hell, I'm learning with everybody else too, and that's what life's about, is to learn about those things. And really, it helps me understand better about your book. And now as you're writing this, did you have any conversations with your friend on some of the discoveries you found?
Oh,
what was that like, from start to finish? I got to hear that story.
Regina, who I call Reg, grew up in the military. Her dad fought in 3 wars. And she's lived by Fort Benning her whole life, or a lot of her life. So she's very military oriented, and she's helped me immensely with research and to tell Bud's story. And she also, the family had many oral histories about Bud, and she relayed them to me. For example, that he married this woman like a couple weeks before he went to war. Nobody knew who she was, and she was very mysterious, and she remains very mysterious. Lorraine was an odd woman. Have you ever heard of the allotment Annies?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so allotment Annies are women who married multiple soldiers at the same time to get a paycheck. Back in those days, they got $20 a week, which today is like $360 a week. And if the soldier or sailor airman died, they got a $10,000 paycheck.
Right.
That's like $175,000 today. So there were women who married multiple soldiers or sailors. And in fact, the military knew all about this. They had movie reels that they showed the soldiers saying, please do not marry someone you don't know. Please, because these guys are naive. They're 17, 18-year-old kids that came off farms. And they were very easily manipulated. And one woman was married to 6 sailors at the same time.
Were they on the same boat?
No. The only reason they found out was because these 2 sailors are next to each other in a bar in Australia, and they're going, hey, here's my wife. Here's a picture. And the other guy goes, here's my wife. Wait a minute. It's this woman. And they caught her, and she was one of the few women ever prosecuted for it. She was put in prison for a little bit. But the idea is, now I know that sounds horrible that women would do that, but women had never worked much outside of the home before. They suddenly could be Rosie the Riveter or work for the war effort, but they knew when the men came home, they were back to nothing.
Yeah.
So, and there weren't any high-paying jobs or good-paying jobs for women. So I can sort of understand how a desperate woman might have done this, but Bud's wife was so cruel, and the letters, when the family told me stories about her, because I have no letters from her, the letters in the book I fabricated because I understood what had happened, and I don't want to give too much of it away.
No.
But bottom line is she broke his heart. In the meantime, there were quiet family whispers that he had fallen in love with another woman while he was at war.
Oh.
So, and he was Catholic. He was married. He was very conflicted about these things, and so I don't have all the facts. Again, this is inspired by a true story, but along with the horrors of war, there's a love story in there.
Well, I'm telling you, and I'm excited to get my hands on a copy of this. I mean, whenever you sent me the first email, I went, oh, man, we got to talk about it. And now, here we are, less than a month away from when it hits the online shelves. Is it going to be in bookstores? Where can we find a copy?
You can buy it anywhere. It's on all of the online book sales. You can go to Barnes and Noble. It might not be it wouldn't be on the shelf, but they would get it for you.
Oh, absolutely.
If people go to my website, which is AnnMontgomeryWriter.com, there's all links to it everywhere.
And we'll make sure to link everything in a write-up that we do, Ann, because this is what a great story. Just the story on writing the book itself is amazing, and then the story you're telling is just really fascinating, and something that really does need to be given more of a look into is the soldiers, just like Bud, that are going through and being what's the actual term? What were they called?
Graves registration.
Grave registration. Oh, to me, so many around here, Ann, are going to love learning about that, because I have no idea until you started talking really about their role, what that was.
I think that by nature, we shut that part off.
Yep.
We go, oh, great, cool battle, air battle, planes fall down. But we don't go, hey, where are the pilots that went down?
Yeah.
Where are the guys in the ships? I interviewed a number of World War II veterans when I was a print reporter for a Memorial Day story. My editor said, go out and do a Memorial Day story. Where are all the parties? Where are all the sports? I said, that's not what Memorial Day is.
No.
Memorial Day is about remembering those who didn't come home. And he looked at me, goes, write whatever you want. So I went to the local VFW and I interviewed some men who'd been in World War II. And I mentioned that because one of them, I asked, what do you remember? What do you remember about men who didn't come home? And he said, I was in a helicopter and they were lowering me down into the water to get some bodies. but there were sharks everywhere and they were eating the bodies. And he said, they pulled me back up and would not allow me to go down there. That whole idea isn't what bothered him. It bothered him that they didn't know if it was 1 or 2 bodies, and that men could never be declared dead because he couldn't retrieve them.
Oh man.
So that's, he wanted to do his job, but they wouldn't let him. He couldn't get down there. And so no one ever got any peace of mind about what had happened to their loved one or loved ones. I think it's natural for us to turn away from that part. The other problem with this, though, is not just us wanting to ignore the dead. It's us ignoring the mental health situations of our military.
100%.
Today, every news show, every day is talking about dealing with your mental health and talk about it, and we accept it, but not in the military.
Yeah.
If you have issues, and there are a lot of them that do, they are afraid to mention it, that it will ruin their careers. And guess what? They're right.
Yep.
It should not be like this now. I watched Bud disintegrate through his letters. I watched it. Now, I know how many men came home with deep, invisible wounds that no one wanted to hear about. Yeah, I mean, you probably remember the time in Patton's movie where he slapped the guy who was in the hospital bed suffering from shell shock.
Mm-hmm.
Slapped him and called him a yellow-bellied coward because his brain went. Now, today we know better, but the military doesn't want to talk about that. It's considered weakness. And in the military, all we see is big, strong, tough people. And they've got to fix it because every day in this country, 20 veterans/service people are committing suicide. And we need to do better. The military needs to do better to figure out a way to help these people.
100%, Ann, and I can't speak highly enough on that. I used to do a veteran show when I was on the AM dial over in St. Louis, and all it was about how the VA is getting better. But one thing they never tackled was mental health in these veterans and these folks that are going into the military, and maybe some on-hand counseling services and different tools that those soldiers can lead and learn as they're going through their tenure, and then of course the resources afterwards. It's just not there. It's just not.
And the military has proven it can tackle a problem.
Yep.
I mean, I think leading up to World War I, 80% of the wounded died, and they died, infection, all kinds of things. Today, 80% live.
Right.
That are severely wounded. They live because we figured out how to set up MASH units. We figured out how to get people home and get people well and do their surgeries. So bottom line is they need to tackle this. They really do.
They 100%, and so many of us in this area will be echoing those thoughts going forward, and hopefully more of a national conversation can be had on that very important topic too. Ann Montgomery, Your Forgotten Sons comes out what day?
June 6th.
That's okay.
The 80th anniversary of D-Day.
100%. And we'll link it on riverbender.com on the on-demand interview and on our write-up that we're going to do on this. So that way you guys can just click on the link and you're good to go. And thank you so much for your time. Always a pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you for having me, CJ. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Before we take a quick break, and this was not on purpose, one of our biggest supporters now of the show is Centerstone, which Centerstone is a national leader in mental health and substance use disorder treatment for people of all ages. And folks, if you're looking for a fresh start on the road to recovery, a life free from addiction is possible, and it starts at Centerstone. Centerstone is a national leader in mental health and substance use disorder treatment, but their clinicians use evidence-based treatment programs in all of their practices. So it means, Ann, that they're getting something that's developed for them, not one of those tried for 10 years and maybe it worked for some, maybe it didn't work. This is developed for you at home that are going through this journey. There's so many unknowns on that road to recovery, but one thing you can know for sure is that Centerstone will be a constant guiding force for you on your recovery journey. You can go to recoverwithus.org, that's recoverwithus.org, or call 1-877-HOPE-123 to learn more today. Ann Montgomery, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, CJ. That was perfect.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We'll take a quick break here in our daily show. We'll roll right around the corner right after this in downtown Alton.
When I got in the car accident at the ER, they gave me a prescription of hydrocodone. And over time, it took more medication to mask the pain. I moved over to drug seeking and found heroin and fentanyl. I went to the Centerstone rehab facility, and it was the best decision I ever made in my life. I have my own car, I have a job, there's nothing holding me back anymore.
Dream Home Realty Center.
Hey Sherry, talk to me, Dream Team.
We've got Joey.
Yo, what up? It's Mike Keith, the proud graduate of Lewis and Clark Community College. I got my start in broadcasting and now I work all over the country. I discovered my path in media, but I could have been an electrician. Or I could have been a nurse.
Maybe not.
We are Phillips 66 Wood River Refinery. We make the fuels that take us to work and our children to school. We make materials and energy products that allow us to stay connected to each other. We care about the quality and safety of our products because we care about the communities we share. Our employees live our values of safety, honor, and a commitment to act as good neighbors where we live and operate. We are Phillips 66.
Welcome back to Our Daily Show. Here's CJ.
Welcome back, 9:50, a little bit of change on this Monday morning. I hope you guys enjoyed Ann Montgomery. We're talking to Grid Solar in just a couple of minutes or so and getting the latest. But while I have you here at 9 o'clock, make sure you check out riverbender.com/events, and you can stay up to date and in the know on all the things that are happening around the River Bend. But let's take a look real quick. I can barely hear myself today on some of the things that are going on throughout this day in history. And we'll go through the deep dive here in the 10 o'clock hour. But while I have you now, let's take a quick gander. And one of the most pivotal events on this date took place on May the 20th. 1498, when the famed Portuguese explorer Vasco da Gama arrived in India after navigating the Cape of Good Hope. This monumental achievement, it marked the opening of the sea route from Europe to Asia and revolutionized trading and established new connections between the East and the West. Da Gama's successful voyage not only bolstered Portugal's influence as a maritime power, but it also laid groundwork for the age of exploration, profoundly altering that global commerce and the intercultural interactions. In the context of technological advancements, May the 20th, 1873 saw the birth of America, darn it. The patenting of the blue jeans by Levi Strauss and Jacob Davis. The durable piece of clothing, of course, designed for miners during the California Gold Rush, quickly became an enduring fashion staple, and it symbolized practicality and that rugged individualism. And of course, today, those blue jeans remain a universal wardrobe essential, and that transcends cultures and generations. Moving to a more sobering chapter, on May the 20th, 1927, American aviator Charles Lindbergh took off from Roosevelt Field in New York aboard the Spirit of St. Louis, embarking on that first nonstop transatlantic flight. His successful landing in Paris 33 and a half hours later not only marked a milestone in aviation history, but also made Lindbergh an international hero, showcasing the incredible potential of all of what awaits us in aviation. Turning our attention to the Metro East, May the 20th also holds significance. On this date in 1902, the Eads Bridge, an engineering marvel spanning the Mississippi River, was declared a National Historic Landmark. Designed by James Eads, the bridge was the first to use steel as its primary construction material and remains a testament to the ingenuity and resilience of St. Louis's industrial heritage. The Eads Bridge not only facilitated commerce and transportation, but also symbolized the city's growth and modernization. Globally, on May the 20th, 1983 witnessed a landmark in scientific achievement with the publication of the first sequence of the human genome by researchers at Harvard. The groundbreaking discovery paved the way for advancements in genetics and biotechnology, revolutionizing our understanding of human biology and disease. The Human Genome Project has led to numerous medical breakthroughs and really just an important milestone. On a more recent note, May the 20th, 2020, it also marked the launch of NASA's Mars helicopter, Ingenuity, aboard the Perseverance rover. The initiative represented the first controlled flight of an aircraft on another planet, opening new horizons for space exploration and our quest to understand the mysteries of the Red Planet. Ingenuity's successful flights demonstrated that feasibility in aerial exploration in outer space. And, well, that's a look at what's happening on this date in history. I'm excited. So coming up in a couple of seconds, we're going to be talking to Grid Solar and starting our new solar education segments is really what I'm going to call them. We haven't come up with a name yet. The first, test in the water segment where we're going to talk a little bit, get their background, and really just talk about ways that Grid Solar can really help us, number one, lower our energy costs, and number two, learn about this ever-changing and growing industry that really, for some of us, is still all so confusing. I mean, I'm going to learn a lot because I know absolutely nothing. I'm excited about these segments taking place, and I'm excited to have Grid Solar as a partner. Another individual that I always like to call a great partner is Alton Little Theater. They are done with the 90th season. It wrapped up yesterday, and I heard all but good things for Singing in the Rain. However, the 91st season starts in just a couple of days. They're going to have their Princesses Cabaret concert. It's going to be all for the next 2 weeks as they kick off that 91st season. Plus, Nick the Pancake Guy will be on display at Alton Little Theater, and this is a really fun breakfast show. He cooks pancakes, throws them around, and really kind of brings it to life, and I'm excited about this. This is Princesses and Company Cabaret Concert, the whole family enjoying a favorite trip to Disney World, Alton, because, they can't say it, but I can. Meeting with classic villains and true love, of course, when Alton Little Theater singers perform renditions from more than a dozen animated favorite movies and 2 pancake breakfasts where princesses and all the fun will be on display while you're eating your breakfast with your family. This is great. Tickets are just $12 for everyone for the pancake breakfast, no matter your age. Or if you want to go to that cabaret concert, tickets are just $15 for youth, $20 for adults. The show runs May 31st and June the 7th, evenings at 7:30 p.m. And then June 1st, June 2nd, June 8th, and June the 9th. Matinees at 2 p.m. We hope to see you there for the Princesses, Princes, and Not Too Naughty Villains Cabaret Concert directed by Becca Peach at Alton Little Theater. 618-462-3205 to call the box office, or just go online today, right now. AltonLittleTheater.org. That's AltonLittleTheater.org. Get these tickets, get your season tickets, and don't forget to tell them that CJ and Riverbender sent you over their way. Rolling on to top of the hour news in the 618 Grid Solar. They're up next.
No matter the season, Play It Again Sports in Edwardsville has the gear the athletes need to get in the game. Whether you're shopping for the newest sports equipment or saving money on quality used gear, Play It Again Sports carries what you need to maximize performance to get the most out of every swing, kick, stroke, or shot. We'll even buy your used goods, paying cash on the spot. We carry all the gear for all the sports all year long. We're your hometown sporting goods store. Play It Again Sports, conveniently located at 4 Club Center Court in Edwardsville.
I just got a new air conditioner. Top of the line.
I bet mine's better. It's so efficient and quiet. I hardly know it's running.
I've got you both trumped. I've got a Linux.
So do I.
Barrett Heating and Cooling carries Linux products to meet any budget. Don't gamble with your energy dollars. Call Barrett Heating and Cooling and start saving today.
Lennox. Innovation never felt so good.
With over 20 years of experience, Wilson's Tree Service has the expertise to handle all of your tree care needs. Licensed and fully insured, their team of experts are dedicated to providing reliable service. Plus, with a 24-hour emergency service line, Wilson's will always be there for you. Don't risk tackling that timber by yourself. Trust the local professionals at Wilson's Tree Service. Visit treeservicealtonil.org to get started today.
Welcome to Evergreen Place, a community that embodies joyful living, independence, and financial freedom for seniors. If you're looking for a full day of activities or to relax in your apartment, we have you covered. Located on the Alton Memorial campus. To know us is to love us. Experience the difference at Evergreen Place.
Life's better when you're under our roof. That's because our expert agents will make you feel totally protected with the right auto and home coverage at the right price. Also, you can enjoy the dreams you worked so hard to achieve. American Family Insurance.
Since 1993, Sparks Junk Removal is always adapting to the needs of our clients. That is why we now offer weekly trash pickup for selected areas. Plus, we offer driveway safe rubber tire dumpster rental. Give us a call today at 618-781-1407 or visit us at sparksjunkremoval.net.
Not sure if you've noticed, but those advertised prices from the other dealers are just a bunch of blah, blah, blah. At Roberts Motors, the advertised price is the price you pay. And that, my friend, is great news for you. Don't fall for their so-called incentives that will leave you banging your head against the wall. Go with Roberts Motors. Prices you can trust and people you will like. That's the Roberts Motors way. And trust me, it's the way to go.
In the heart-pounding moments of the game, every move counts, just like in chiropractic care. Dr. Andrew Dykman of Rosewood Chiropractic champions this belief, supporting our teams in every drive and supporting his patients for nearly 20 years, offering affordable, compassionate, all-natural wellness care. Call 618-259-2676 or visit rosewoodchiropractic.com today.
Welcome back to our daily show. Here's CJ.
It's a living thing. It's a terrible thing to lose. It's a given thing. What a terrible thing to lose.
What's happening? 10:02, welcome in Grid Solar LLC, Ryan and Jason in the studio. And this is the start of a lot of conversations about solar. I'm excited about this. Is it hot out there today?
It's a bit warm. Not too bad.
Not too bad? And not humid enough to not be on a roof today, adding some solar up there.
Sure, absolutely. yeah.
So, number one, Grid Solar is really doing well. There's a lot of things happening. And right off the bat, let's just kind of dive into this. How did Grid Solar LLC come about?
We started, we broke into the industry with a different company, a larger company.
Mm-hmm.
So we learned a lot of what not to do from that company.
Yeah.
I actually got promoted. I hired him as a sales rep. Then I promoted him to my assistant manager. And when that company kind of took a left turn at Albuquerque, we knew we did not agree with their tactics and stuff. You know, he offboarded, started Grid LLC. I followed about a month later, and we've been blazing a new trail ever since.
Now, with that, that's a good point. Was it, just kind of like going after the dollars instead of really going after the client's needs? Not to go too far into that, but it seems like, for folks that are skeptical about, going solar because they don't know really too much about the industry,
Right.
that's what they feel a lot of the times from a huge company coming in, especially in the middle of summer, just knocking doors,
Yeah, and that's those kind of companies, those big national companies. That's what they do. They knock doors in neighborhoods, even without a permit or in places where they're not allowed to.
Yeah.
Right. They're super high pressure, and they also use advertisements that say solar is free, which of course it's not. Right. Unfortunately, it's not. But it is cheaper than what most people would pay. Right. So we like to just take that honest approach and just go that route.
One, I feel like that's the best step forward because it's a new industry. It's still newer in terms of, every other, energy source that we've come to know. So to be able to really have those honest talks about, what this is going to look like, what the timeline's going to be, what costs are, that's a great way to do it. So when you offload and you join up, was it a pretty quick conversation to say, hey, I'm on your team?
Yeah. And there was a little pre-planning going on.
Was there really? Okay, that's fair then.
there was definitely some
Never
thought
let
about
them know
that.
your next move.
Right. And honestly, it got to be where we felt like we were working more towards buying our CEO the next fancy car, and so that he could wear Versace T-shirts and stuff like that, and it was like, and then we see how much we're charging, and it was just like, this is ludicrous.
Well, and on the other side of it, see, I run most of our installation stuff, right? So a big part of that for me was in the industry, solar installers are actually really underpaid most of the time, $15, $16 an hour to do what they do on a roof. And we more than double that.
I hope so.
So, and I actually just recently, we took our guys union. So they're in the IBEW Local 309 in Collinsville. So that's how seriously we take this stuff.
That's huge. Yeah. I mean, that really is, because I've always thought about that, and it seems like some of those bigger companies find some younger guys or folks that really just need the money. And I mean, hell, I've seen those panels. I don't know how much they weigh, but some of that's a little dangerous work.
It's very dangerous. It's one of the most dangerous jobs.
Really?
Yeah, because people can fall off a roof. It's just like roofing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Plus, we're dealing with electricity. So they have to be really trained and really know what they're doing and be professional.
One, for the homeowner to know that, you got union guys coming to your house and you got folks that are trained. It's, just the training alone, too. Right. It's not just, well, here's a 16-year-old that wants a summer job that we're going to pay under the table, to be our, gopher.
Right. Well, and that was another thing we saw with the other company was the training for installers went from 2 weeks to, when we left, it was 2 days, and it was all via Zoom. So these folks are putting a power plant on your roof with 2 days of Zoom training.
I'm going to be a surgeon on Thursday. I'm going to do open hearts on the show. I'm going to Wikipedia it. We'll be fine. Come on.
Google University, right?
Yeah. So that's what I mean. How frustrating is it for both of you in that? I mean, that's because to me, you both are really passionate about the industry, and you're trying to, to really help that client and really put a great taste in their mouth about, an industry where you get a lot of door knockers, just like the roofing seasons when the hail comes, and whenever you're dealing with that, how difficult was it to kind of wait it out and just go, hey, we're going to do this, the right way, but let's just keep powering through until we're ready to go? Was there some conversations about just a couple more days, tick the boxes off?
I mean, it's one of those things that, like many in life, when it's time, the time lets you know it's time. So, Jason's departure was mutual. We'll say that. So when he left, there was the mutual feeling that he can go. And then it was pretty much the same for me. So
well, and it seems like your guys' partnership is really cool because the strengths and the weaknesses for both kind of weigh each other out. Right, that's cool. Take me through how the dynamic works between the two with Grid Solar.
He can start.
The floor is yours, Senator.
Well, so that is interesting. Yeah, we are the opposite in all the right ways and the same in all the right ways. We had a situation I was just explaining when you walked in that, his installers called me and were like, hey, what does Jason want us to do here? And I was 100% sure I knew exactly what to say, because at the end of the day, what we agree on is all the most important stuff.
Right.
And what we, disagree on, we tend to defer to the other because it's like, well, I disagree, but you know more about this. So it's pretty much been like that from the very beginning, and we don't find a lot of, I don't think we've ever found a way that we disagree that I would consider core.
Well, and just, hearing a little bit of the conversation, you said to go check on something, but to, just to hear it and see how that kind of dynamic works, it's a complete partnership, and I think that's the really cool
actually
thing.
have a healthy partnership.
Yeah, and because you see that all the time where folks partner up and it's not really a partnership, it's really one and then the other's kind of supplementing.
Right.
But this really is a hand in hand, let's work together and conquer it all.
Yep.
And when you're meeting with folks, what's that first interaction look like? Because I can only imagine you've had the gamut of conversations with solar, and folks that are skeptical, the folks that say, I don't want it, then 5 minutes into the conversation go, actually, that sounds pretty darn good to me. Take me through the gamut of that first interaction. How do those, kind of conversations start? Do they call you, or, are you guys kind of on Facebook and someone sends you a message and you start that way?
All of it.
Really?
So
Cool.
I've gotten direct Facebook messages. We go to a lot of vendor shows. We actually go to the farmers market every Saturday here in Alton. It's a great show. And that's generally how we do most of our marketing. We do some online advertising as well. But then when people want information, they either submit a form or they ask us directly. And, we get that power bill just like any other solar company would, so that we can figure out how much solar they need. And we literally just explain it piece by piece. This is what your incentives look like. This is how it's going to work with your utility company. This is what it'll look like on your house.
Yeah.
And then we leave and let them make that decision in their own time.
Well, and that's what I think's really cool about this too, because this is not a dishwasher, where you can you can change it out in a couple of years.
It saves you money, but it's still a big change.
Yeah,
right?
It's a life change.
Exactly.
Now, what do you guys look for in that bill? Because I've heard so many people talk about we need to see your electric bill. Is it just the wattage hours? Is it the usage? What are we looking for in that? Usage?
Usage.
Right.
What's the general, do you know what your kind of average usage is around here? Is it kind of vary from different home styles and different lifestyles,
There's
or is
a
it consistent?
big variance.
Really?
You can have two houses built exactly the same, but if they have two families, their usage is going to be different, flat out. But with that said, we take that into account. We also take what type of net metering policy you have, depending on your utility company, into account. And that all goes into the design. And then, of course, we do a site survey so we can make sure that there's nothing weird going on with the house.
Yeah.
And all that, it's quite, if you're not trained in it, it sounds like a complicated process. But for us, we do it every day. This is what we live.
You know what's interesting to me? Because I've been trying to figure out solar for a little bit, because, it's always good to be informed and know, because I own a house now and everything else. But whenever, I'm hearing, folks like yourself talk about this, it's so foreign to me. It's like a different language, but just our couple of minutes, it's starting to make a little bit more sense.
Sure.
And that's good for anyone to know, too, because you got to have someone be able to talk to you, and not just throw a bunch of buzzwords, hand you a form, tell you to sign, and we'll see you maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I always like to use analogies to simplify things. And so, I found the analogy on how we design a system that works the best is, how many kids are we inviting to the pizza party? You know what I'm saying? Your power bill tells me, how many kids we're going to invite. And then that tells me how many pizzas I need to order, and how many cups and cake, So that's how we design the system. We can't know how many panels we need to fit on your roof unless we know how many kids are coming to the pizza party. So I always, people will tell us, I have a 1,500 square foot house, and I'd love to say that there's a standard for, one panel per 100 square feet or something like that. But I've seen tiny houses use a ton of energy, and I've seen big houses use very little. So I've seen everything in between. Wow. So the power bill tells us where you are on that spectrum.
I'm not going to, because that's what I thought initially, is there's got to be some calculation for my 1,000 square foot house, but that's good to know for the public too, that it does go down to that power bill.
Sure. Yep.
It really does. Electric heat, for instance, if you have 1,000 square foot house that heats with gas furnace, or 1,000 square foot house that heats with electric, the electric house could use easily double the amount of electricity in a year.
Man, and now oh my goodness. Now, a question for that. Have you had someone say, man, I really don't like to have the whole gas, heating system and everything. I want to switch to solar. Can they do two changes at once and switch to electric heat while they're going solar at the same time? Is that possible?
They can, but it doesn't always make sense.
Okay.
Depending on their utility company. And that's a net metering conversation, but basically that's how the trade of electricity between you and the utility company, if it's not friendly to that, we'll tell you. You might be better off to stick with a gas furnace. You might be better off to go all electric in a heat pump system, right? And we can help guide people on that stuff too.
Well, and see, that's what I think's cool, because talking to you both just for a couple of minutes, you weren't selling a product. You're truly just providing service.
Yeah.
And you know, my family's had rigged and sewer service for years in this area, and with the other big company that was around, it was just sell them the job, you know, and then sell them the root killer, you know, for another 75 and take your sales commission. But you know, and it's just like that in solar with all these big companies too. But with you guys, it's providing that service, and that's what I think's cool, to be told, hey, you don't need that, man. Stick with gas, stick with this. Or, you know, here's the other avenue we could go down.
Well, we've bid against companies who will try to build somebody a system that does 100% offset, right? 100% offset means your annual usage is completely covered by solar. The problem is, in a lot of areas around here that have cooperative utility companies, you literally cannot do that.
Right.
It does not work that way. And so when somebody thinks they're going to get a 100% offset, at best it might be 75%. And so now they're still going to have a 25% bill that they did not expect. And we are the company who is actually going to tell you that up front.
And by the time
right,
by the time you realize that, like, my power bills aren't zero like the guy said it was going to be, well, the system's been on your roof for 6 months or a year. I mean, you can't return it. There's no receipt to return it at that point.
And then you're paying for a way too much for that system too, when you could have easily just taken a couple of days, maybe called another company, called you guys, and seen what you needed or what your thoughts were too.
Right.
We do a purely educational approach. You know, so like you're going to ask the questions. You're going to say, you know, what are my choices, and we're going to tell you what the impact of all of your choices are. So, you know, a good example is, which is better for my house, a roof mount or put them in the yard?
Yeah.
And there are pros and cons to both of those. So at the end of the day, we're going to design you both systems, and the winner will make itself clear. You know, the actual production, the cost, all of that is going to tell you which one you should do.
Well, and real quick, I wanted to go back to net metering, just because we've had a few kind of comments, and then John's watching upstairs and wants to know more. What net metering? Let's tackle that and let's go through it real quick. What is net metering?
Net metering is the trade of electricity between you and your utility company. So around here, a lot of people are under the impression that the utility companies will pay you, and sometimes they will pay you for extra electricity. But almost always, it's not as much as what you pay for electricity. So for instance, Ameren, Illinois is full one-to-one net metering as of right now. That will phase out eventually, but right now it's one-to-one. So that means if you produce an extra 10 kilowatt hours in a day that you didn't need, when you do need it, because it's nighttime or cloudy or whatever, you draw that in at 1-to-1. So it's a wash. You see no difference. You basically gave them 10 kilowatt hours that you took back later at no charge.
Okay, makes sense.
With other companies, you might only get 1/3 of the value of that electricity. They charge you 12 cents per kilowatt hour, which is pretty standard in the area, and then you might only get 3 to 4 cents per kilowatt hour when you export to the grid. So in that case, we're going to design your system quite differently, because you either need battery backup or you need a smaller system so that you use everything on site and you don't lose that 2/3 of the value of your electricity.
That makes sense, and that's going back and really educating that client on what that agreement
and so we build
is.
the ecosystem, and then we explain it to you and how it actually functions, right?
That's really cool. Yeah. Well, and while I have you too, whenever you're having that conversation with the client, do they think, the next day, here's the system design and we're ready to go a lot of the time? Because to me, this is really, it's not a sprint. You really got to have some honest conversations before you make that purchase or that commitment. And so do a lot of folks think, hey, this is going to be going really quick, or do they know right off the bat when they call you, this is going to be 3 or 4 months?
Oh, well, we tell them.
Yeah, and see, that's another, the previous companies, they started to do like the one sit close thing, where it's like they either make a decision today or they don't. We're going to take this prize with us if you don't decide today. And again, that's not comfortable. Nobody wants to be sold like that, especially something this big. Like you said, it's not a dishwasher.
Yeah.
So, again, we're going to educate the customer, and then a lot of times we're going to give them homework, like, hey, we can't definitively answer these questions today, so here's what I need you to find out about your tax situation, or, what you can and can't do, and then we're going to find this other information out. We'll come back, and then, like you said, it's not a sprint. It's an educational approach. I always tell customers, before you sign anything with us, you're going to be 100% confident that this is either the right decision for you or it's not.
100%. And now, going back to the yard real quick, what kind of makes the difference of roof items, or let's put that solar equipment in your yard and set it up there? Is it have to do with the structure of the house, the I guess the age of the roof, where the sun's hitting? Is that really all kind of come into play, or is it just a one factor situation? Does it really?
Yes,
it's all of
the
those
answer.
things.
Damn, I'm feeling pretty good about this.
Well,
and also personal preference, right?
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, I don't like how they look on the roof, but I could tuck them away in this shiny spot back behind these trees. You know, like,
Yeah.
Again, if it's a shiny spot, you know, if you have a ton of shade on your roof, but you have an open spot in the yard, you know, the extra cost of a ground mount justifies itself through extra production, right? It's going to produce so much better out in the yard that even though it costs extra, it's actually costing less because it's going to produce so much more.
You needed fewer solar panels, but you needed more structure.
Right.
Makes sense.
That's the difference. Yeah.
So, you know, like, hey, the roof is 20 years old. Let's talk about, do you want to have it replaced ahead of time? We can work with people on that. You know, if they're worried about, you know, having to replace the roof in the future, like all of these things, you know, we take preference into account when it comes to this, but again, we educate you on the impact of your choices. So like Ameren, Illinois, for instance, he was talking about net metering. You don't need a battery with Ameren, Illinois.
Okay.
Ameren, Illinois is your battery. They store your extra energy. But if a customer were to say, but I still want a battery, we would just educate them that the battery won't save you money every month, but it will give you backup power. So if the backup power is worth this much to you, then you should do it.
That's really cool. And do you guys have a moment to stick around if I take a quick
Absolutely.
pause?
Sure.
Before I do that, though, what are your thoughts on these new roofs I'm seeing where it's like a roof and a panel all in one? I don't know. It's like Tesla's doing something like this. Have you guys seen those yet? What are your thoughts?
They're expensive.
Are they really?
So we offer a brand actually called Soltech, but the cost of entry of a system like that is prohibitive for most people. So just being honest, right? They look amazing. They come with a 40-year warranty. You can get them in several colors and panel shapes and all those things. And the panels are actually, they look like clay shingles. They're fantastic.
Yeah.
And the Tesla ones are actually quite rare. It's very difficult to get a hold of them because they've just not been able to produce to standard.
I didn't know that there was multiples that made that type of product, though. That's fascinating.
The ones we sell are actually a German product. They're very, very good quality.
There's actually a roofing company, a roofing shingle company that got in the game now too. Right. And they made a roofing shingle that you can nail directly to your roof that also has solar on it. But these are not great technologies if you ask me. Those are flexible panels, so much lower
they don't
efficiency.
produce as much. Cost per watt, it is always cheaper to go with a standard roof mount installation and a standard shingle roof. Okay, so even a cheap solar panel is stronger than shingles, right? Yeah. We replace. We remove and replace systems all the time for people. We just had the hailstorms, right? None of the shingles that we had to pull off were broken. Or shingles, the panels. None of the panels were broken, but the shingles needed to be replaced. So like they're more robust. Yeah, they're made from tempered glass, very strong. Yeah.
That's incredible though, because we get some rough weather here, and that's I'm sure that's a concern for clients too, is what happens when the storms come in the summer and the fall, and even the ice storms too. That's interesting. Well, let's take a break. It's 10:21. I got to pay a quick bill. We'll come back. Daily Show with Grid Solar. Hit you next right here on Riverbender and Roku TV.
I had an amazing experience with Dr. Haug and her team. I came here when I was 10 years old to get my braces on. Now I'm 28 years old, braces off, and I get so many compliments on my smile. It's helped me thrive in my career as a news reporter, and also as Miss Missouri USA, I took the stage with confidence, knowing my smile was going to make me look like $1 million. I've never felt better and more confident because of my smile.
Life's better when you're under the American Family Insurance roof, because they know your house is home base for their dreams. Whether it's a kid like me aiming for the big leagues, future rocket scientist, or a budding prima ballerina. When you feel totally protected, your family's free to pursue their dreams. She's good.
Let's go.
American Family Insurance.
No matter the season, Play It Again Sports in Edwardsville has the gear the athletes need to get in the game. Whether you're shopping for the newest sports equipment or saving money on quality used gear, Play It Again Sports carries what you need to maximize performance to get the most out of every swing, kick, stroke, or shot. We'll even buy your used goods, paying cash on the spot. We carry all the gear for all the sports all year long. We're your hometown sporting goods store. Play It Again Sports, conveniently located at 4 Club Center Court in Edwardsville. Picture This and More has been a trusted name in the Alton community for more than 30 years, with the last 3 being right here on Broadway. We specialize in quality framing at affordable prices. We also feature works by local artists because we're proud of our community. If you have valued treasures to display and preserve, we're sure to have the perfect fit with our large selection of custom framing and display options. Whatever color, shape, or size, Picture This and More has the look you need. Stop by today and let us help you with your next project.
You're listening to Our Daily Show with CJ Nasello on Riverbender.com.
Welcome back. Oh, we haven't come up with a... Mike upstairs had an idea. Bright ideas with Grid Solar. I think that's pretty cool. I like that, bright idea. That's something to ponder. That's a pondering one,
Leave the marketing to us.
I tried, man, But as we're getting back to this, there's... a lot of folks that talk about, tax credits, and they talk about, the things that are coming back to them. What's your kind of just general response to, maybe some folks that want to know more about tax credits? Is it different for everybody? Is it a blanket tax credit? Are there, kind of these blanket kickbacks that come back with going solar? What are your thoughts on that?
So there's the 30% federal tax credit because of the Inflation Reduction Act.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 30% of the cost of the system. So I'll explain it the exact same we do is at home and garden shows. So if we have a typical $30,000 system, 30% of that is $9,000 off, and then you have the Illinois SREC while it's still available, and that's based on the production of the systems. So it's going to roughly be between $9,000 and $11,000 additional dollars. So at the end of the day, in Illinois, you have a $30,000 system that you have a net of $10,000 to $15,000 out of your pocket, assuming you can get qualify for all the incentives. So as far as the tax credit is concerned, it's dollar for dollar that you pay in. So if you paid in $9,000 in taxes last year, then your tax refund this year, because you bought that $30,000 system, your tax refund will be $9,000.
That makes sense because, so many times people were talking about, the units get solar. When it, kind of the first conversations were happening around here, I kept hearing so many people, well, I'm going to get solar and get it for free. It's like, man, I don't think that's how it works.
Free solar does not exist, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Well, and that's good to know, too. And just, going back to the home real quick, is there any, size too small? Is there a standard, solar a kind of house or a size for a house where solar would go, like 1,000, 1,500 square feet, or is it really just all sizes work? It just depends on that energy blueprint.
I mean, information is free. So if you don't know, send us your power bill on gridsolarllc.com, and we will let you know. Because we get it. If we can only reduce your power bill by 20%, most people are like, that's not worth it.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah.
When we tend to agree with those folks. You know what I'm saying? So we typically say, let's at least try to cut the power bill in half.
Well, and that's a good thing, too. So if anyone's kind of watching, too, and, the phone's been dinging and everything else, I just can't keep up with it all, just send the bill, Don't tell us how big your house is. Tell us how much you're spending on your electric each month,
Because the square footage of your house does make a difference, but it's not everything. It's not proportionate. So, like I said before, 2 exact houses are going to be different.
Now, can people add on solar items? Like if I want maybe, I was sitting there on my deck one day drinking a beer and thought, man, that would be cool if I had if maybe I had an electric gate that was all powered by solar. Could they do that with your system if they go, man, I wanted to kind of add that to it and add maybe an electric lock? Is that possible?
Well, anything electric in your house is going to be run by whatever.
Okay, so then you can add. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So if it's connected to your main, then it's connected to the solar.
That's what I wanted to know, just to make sure if someone called you and goes, hey, so can I put this stuff in? Can I add more equipment to my house? Do I need to call you back after I add the new light fixture in? All that's fine.
Well, I was going to say that's another part of the consultative approach is, like, are you going to get an EV in the future? Are you, like, what's going to happen in the future? Is your electricity usage likely to go up? I can sell you a few extra panels and not feel bad about it. Is your electricity usage likely to go down? You're getting new windows and a new AC, and you're blowing a bunch of insulation. The college kids are moving out. Well, now your electricity usage is likely to go down. And I wouldn't feel bad taking a few panels off, and we'd still be okay.
That makes a ton of sense. Those are things I never even thought about, was the EV, because my dad just got one a couple of years ago and plugs in and all of that, and I'm sure that would probably drastically change some things.
And if he got solar, he could say his car is powered by the sun. Just saying.
That's true. That's true. That's a good point. Yeah. Well, going in, what is your favorite portion of the solar build, the solar project overall? Is it going in and actually installing it? Is it
for me? It's installing.
Is it installing it for you?
Yeah, for me, absolutely. Yeah.
For you, is it educating? Is it the install job? What really gets you excited about what you do?
Yeah, I mean, educating customers. Yeah. On our website, the description of me is I could talk about solar with just about anybody all the time, and it annoys my wife a lot. So, that's just what it's about for me. It's what we're passionate about.
So, is there an estimated timeline for ROI or any type of return on that solar investment, or is it dependent on the individual and just the amount of use again?
Again, it is dependent.
Okay.
But, if you were pressed to answer that question, you say 5 to 8 years is about average.
Uh-huh.
But depending on how you purchased it, some people can literally save money on day one. If you finance your system and your financing actually costs less than what you pay per month, which still exists, even though we have high interest rates right now, that does happen sometimes. You can literally save money day one. Sometimes more likely to happen maybe a year and a half down the road. That's when you're really going to start seeing the savings. But it's exponential over time, because as the cost of electricity goes up, whatever you purchased for your solar, that's already done. That's not changing. Nothing changes. Inflation doesn't affect it anymore. The fuel costs don't affect it anymore. That is frozen in time. And your system, the products that we use are warranted for 25 years in most cases. So, like, you have a system for decades that is going to work under warranty and then work even longer after that.
That's really cool. And, as we're getting to financing, because I'm sure that, a lot of folks around here don't have, $10,000 in the bank to throw at the system. What does that financing look like? Is it something where folks need to take a breath a little bit and just, kind of absorb the information, or is it pretty easy, stress-free financing?
So I used to sell real estate, and so I'm extremely familiar with financing. And number one, we always tell customers, we want you to get the best financing, whether it's one of the companies we directly work with or it's the bank that you work with. We don't make money on financing, so whichever is best for you is what we want.
Right.
That being said, we do work with a local bank, and they have a interesting solar-specific financing where they break the loan down into two loans. One's for the incentive portion, and the other one is what you'll actually make payments on. That's the replacement of your power bill, right? So, the incentive portion, once you collect those incentives, you pay that whole loan off. You pay a little bit of interest on it, but you never made a payment on it. And then the other loan is, let's say you have a $180 power bill. This other loan might be $170 to $200, so that's what's replacing your power bill.
Right.
But
that amount doesn't change unless you refinance.
Yes.
Right?
Really cool.
So that's the advantage. Like, obviously, this is the same thing as renting versus owning. When you rent your house, the rent always goes up, never goes down, never goes to zero, and when you move out, the landlord doesn't give you a bunch of money back.
Right.
Okay.
Good point.
So people buy their house all the time, and so I always give the value question: if you could buy this house for $900 a month, or rent it for $800 a month, which would you do? People would always pay more to own it because of the obvious benefits of ownership.
Yeah.
This is the same opportunity with your power. You pay the same price, even if it's a little more, and it'll never go up again. It will go to zero someday. So then you'll be getting, hundreds of dollars a month worth of energy for nothing.
Right.
And it does add value to your house instantaneously.
Well, and that's, you can't beat that. Sorry, man, I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's okay. I was just going to say, it's not full value.
Yeah.
That is a
Right.
thing that also gets
Yeah.
advertised in the industry.
Right. That's why there's an ROI. If it was full value, the ROI would be today.
Right.
But it does increase the value of your home, but it is not dollar per dollar, right? And, over time, it actually gets a little bit better because as people are looking at houses, younger people are growing up and buying houses, they're more energy conscious because electricity is so much more expensive than it used to be. And the further down the road we get, the more that is going to be a normal thing. If you go to any of the coastal areas, right, that's already a normal thing. In the Midwest, it's taken a little longer to get here, right, because we have a slightly different lifestyle, a little more laid back.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we're still on the same path. It's still going to happen.
Now, this is a stupid question. I'm just going to kind of disclaimer this right off the bat. But when you sell the house to the new buyer, does the buyer have an electric bill because the solar panels already? I mean, that's a stupid question, but it's something I haven't even thought of.
No, and not a stupid question. That's a super common question. Basically, there's three things that you can do. The most common thing is that the person who owns the solar and is selling the house, they pay whatever's left on the loan. They charge slightly more for their house, right? And then the other thing you can do is you can transfer these loans to the new homeowner. It's not super. It's not super common, but you can do it. And the third thing that nobody ever does is they bring the solar system with them. Right.
Can you actually do that?
Yeah, it's not recommended. It's
Don't.
not very cost
Don't do
effective.
it.
Okay.
Yeah. Right.
Because you're essentially paying installation and removal twice when you could have just because whatever your new house is, the electric footprint is going to be different than the original anyway. Right? So we have to design a system for that house. It makes more sense. Just get your money back out of it from the sale and then have a new system installed on your new house if that's the way you want to go.
In 5 years, I have had one person do that. I have had one person take their system with them.
Do they wish they did not take their system with them now?
I mean, that person again. They made a lot of choices that they were informed about the impact of their choices, and they made a lot of choices. I'm just going to stop with that. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah, right.
Well, and whenever we talk about electric and stuff, and especially in the summer, people are worried about air conditioners stopping to work. Is there anything with your guys' solar systems, and not just yours, but any solar system? Does heat come into a factor with sometimes we get up to 102 in the middle of July? Does that ever have a factor of being too cold? Does that ever affect it?
For batteries, yes.
Okay.
But generally speaking, we install batteries indoors.
Okay.
So it's going to be in a garage or in a utility room in a basement or something like that. With the inverters, the only thing you really need to be aware of, and the inverter is what changes the DC electricity from the panels to the AC that's in your house.
Okay.
That inverter, we've actually have repaired a couple of these from other companies. But you cannot install them on the south face, right, in direct sunlight, because they do get really hot. They produce heat on their own anyway because of that conversion process.
Right.
But generally speaking, you want them to be in a slightly shaded area. They can be in direct sunlight for a little while, but you don't want them baking all day long.
Yeah, man, that makes a lot of sense, though.
But that's just a practical thing that we cover during the installation. It's not really part of the design process.
Well, and another question I have for you is, when someone's buying a home, have you had a realtor come up yet and say, hey, I just sold a house, the new buyer wants solar? Do you guys have those conversations yet with new home buyers and maybe getting solar on right away or any of those type of kind of quick transitions?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah,
sometimes.
we find that more at home and garden shows.
Okay, yeah.
You got fresh home buyers or people who are building, and so that's why they're home and garden shows, to look for windows and things, right? So yeah, we do have conversations with folks who don't have much power bill, right? And so when it comes to how many solar panels do I need to put on their roof, I would say we're guessing, but it's an educated guess. We've been doing this a long time, so we do an energy audit at their house, and we can pretty closely determine how much energy they're going to use. And
That's cool.
So that way, and again, we'd rather, undersell. I'd rather sell you too few panels than too many, because I can come out and put more panels on if we need to in the future, but I can't take panels off if I sold you too many. So we, like, I said, we educate the customer and we take, a nice guess. Maybe we take 30% off of that and say, this is definitely a safe place to start.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry I kept you for 40 minutes, but
it's okay.
It's so fascinating, especially to be able to talk to some folks that really, you guys talk in a way that's not, I'm just educated and going to throw this out at you because you don't understand it. You break it down so even I can, so that's cool. But as we're moving forward, Here, I gotta ask you, on the job, do you guys have like any like HVAC technician like woes? You know how they fight the hornets and wasps? Is there anything on the roof that comes into play that no one really thinks about?
If a metal roof gets at all wet, we're not getting up there.
Oh, is it
Very
really a
slippery.
sheet of ice
Yeah.
almost?
It's a slide.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
It becomes a slide.
And then in attic spaces in the middle of summer, boy, it's warm in there. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Other than that, it's not so bad.
One final thing for you this time around pergolas. You guys do solar installations on pergolas.
We do.
Right.
That's cool. So you guys don't build them, but you add the system on.
No, we can build the pergolas as well.
Right.
Yeah, so
We
it's
do
a full
both.
Oh,
kit.
No kidding.
And the special thing about the pergolas that we sell is that they're engineered for solar, because not all pergolas can support the weight of a solar system. And so these are specifically designed for that. They come with the blueprints so we can get the permitting and all that stuff, and it's a smooth process. And then we just install the pergola just like any normal company would and lay the panels on top. They do allow some light to come through because they're bifacial panels, which means they can collect light from both sides of the panel. They're very cool looking underneath. Yeah, and you can even install lights under there and have a little entertainment area. It's really cool. Yeah.
And then that's to power the whole house too.
It depends on the size, of course.
Okay, yeah. Makes
Depends
sense.
on the size. But yeah, absolutely, it's a possibility.
Ideally, you always want to connect your solar to your grid, because like we do have a lot of folks who are like, I just want 4 solar panels to power this one little thing over here.
Yeah.
But you know, we always tell them, like, if you do that, then when you're not using that thing and they're producing energy, that energy is just going nowhere.
Right.
Why not feed your house with that energy? Right. And it's, you know, same thing, like if that thing is on and you're still producing too much, that energy is all going to waste. So it's not that big of a stretch to just go ahead and hook it into the grid, get the credits for it, even if they're minimal. Use the energy. If you're going to pay for it, use it.
Now I'm making so because that all makes so much more sense. Because earlier when I talked about adding that one component, that's what I thought of, because I know so many people that said, well, I would get it just to run the outside stuff, but that makes total sense.
So like, and if you want like a really small system, like I have a little tiny cabin in the woods and I run a generator and it's annoying to hear the generator. Okay, a small 2 to 4 panel system with a really tiny battery might replace that generator completely. We do off-grid stuff like that for RVs and stuff like that too. And again, information's free. Go to our website. We're happy to help.
And that's gridsolarllc.com. Now, what are the areas you guys service? Because I know there's, I've seen some Missouri stuff. I've seen some Illinois stuff. Is it just the Metro East, or what are we talking?
So basically in Illinois, anything from Peoria south, we'll cover. Okay. And Missouri, I'd like to say, like in the Ozarks, to the east of that.
Really cool.
Yeah. So it's a pretty large area
All the way
for
down
a
to
small
Cape,
company like
all the way down to Cape, Carbondale.
Nice.
Yeah, Effingham, like we go all the way out.
That's really cool. And now, just residential currently?
Residential? No, we do
commercial.
Commercial and municipal as well.
Yeah, DIY,
Man,
RV.
Yeah.
Got it all. Kit and caboodle. They even throw the kitchen sink in when you sign on the contract, But for more information, you guys can go to gridsolarllc.com, where you can get your free solar design just by clicking on the button here. You know what I can do? Let's see if I can do this. Last week it didn't work too good. Look at this. Just go on the website, click on this little doodad here. It'll take you right to this page. Put your name, put your phone number in, your email, your address, give them some details, and they'll be giving you a call, or you can call them toll free right there, 1-833-GRID-LLC. I don't read letters. That's one thing my generation struggled with, is what letters equate to in numbers, but we're getting there,
474-3552.
That's impressive. I like that. I like it. And they have a text line, 314-529-8964, or you can also email info@gridsolarllc.com. Well, the next time you guys are on, and not next week, but the following week, we got a name, hopefully, and then we'll have the intro, too. So we're ready to roll, man. I'm feeling good about this.
Yeah.
And we're going to educate you on the solar industry, but you can get started right now, gridsolarllc.com.
No matter the season, Play It Again Sports in Edwardsville has the gear the athletes need to get in the game. Whether you're shopping for the newest sports equipment or saving money on quality used gear, Play It Again Sports carries what you need to maximize performance to get the most out of every swing, kick, stroke, or shot. We'll even buy your used goods, paying cash on the spot. We carry all the gear for all the sports all year long. We're your hometown sporting goods store. Play It Again Sports, conveniently located at 4 Club Center Court in Edwardsville.
I just got a new air conditioner. Top of the line.
I bet mine's better. It's so efficient and quiet, I hardly know it's running.
I've got you both trumped.
I've got a Lennox.
So do I.
Barrett Heating and Cooling carries Lennox products to meet any budget. Don't gamble with your energy dollars. Call Barrett Heating and Cooling and start saving today.
Lennox. Innovation never felt so good.
With over 20 years of experience, Wilson's Tree Service has the expertise to handle all of your tree care needs. Licensed and fully insured, their team of experts are dedicated to providing reliable service. Plus, with a 24-hour emergency service line, Wilson's will always be there for you. Don't risk tackling that timber by yourself. Trust the local professionals at Wilson's Tree Service. Visit treeservicealtonil.org to get started today.
Welcome to Evergreen Place, a community that embodies joyful living, independence, and financial freedom for seniors. If you're looking for a full day of activities or to relax in your apartment, we have you covered. Located on the Alton Memorial campus. To know us is to love us. Experience the difference at Evergreen Place.
Life's better when you're under our roof. That's because our expert agents will make you feel totally protected with the right auto and home coverage at the right price. Also, you can enjoy the dreams you worked so hard to achieve. American Family Insurance.
Since 1993, Sparks Junk Removal is always adapting to the needs of our clients. That is why we now offer weekly trash pickup for selected areas. Plus, we offer driveway-safe rubber-tired dumpster rental. Give us a call today at 618-781-1407 or visit us at sparksjunkremoval.net.
Not sure if you've noticed, but those advertised prices from the other dealers are just a bunch of blah, blah, blah. At Roberts Motors, the advertised price is the price you pay. And that, my friend, is great news for you. Don't fall for their so-called incentives that will leave you banging your head against the wall. Go with Roberts Motors. Prices you can trust and people you will like. That's the Roberts Motors way. And trust me, it's the way to go.
In the heart-pounding moments of the game, every move counts, just like in chiropractic care. Dr. Andrew Dykman of Rosewood Chiropractic champions this belief, supporting our teams in every drive and supporting his patients for nearly 20 years, offering affordable, compassionate, all-natural wellness care. Call 618-259-2676 or visit rosewoodchiropractic.com today.
Welcome back to our daily show. Here's CJ.
Welcome back, 1046. A little bit of change. Here's what happened on this date in history. I get to talk to you a little bit now. Hey, we talked a little bit about some of the events that happened on this date, but let me fill you in on the rest because we had to kind of get moving to talk to Grid Solar. In terms of exploration, on this date in the year 1506, May the 20th, Christopher Columbus died on this date in history. During the Vietnam War, the battle for Hamburger Hill ended after 10 grueling days on this date in the year 1969. On this date in history, in 1996, the Supreme Court defends the rights of gays and lesbians in Romer v. Evans. That happened on this date in 1996. During World War II, on this date in the year 1940, the Germans broke through to the English Channel at Abbeville, France. That happened May the 20th, 1940. On this day in sports history in 1989, Sunday Silence won the Preakness Stakes by a nose. Speaking of a nose, that Kentucky Derby, we never talked about it. Talk about a photo finish. That was exciting. I mean, I had a lot of fun. Also, on this date in history in 1862, President Lincoln signs the Homestead Act. On this date in 1946, English poet W.H. Auden becomes a U.S. citizen. And on this date in art, literature, and film history in 2007, The Simpsons aired their 400th episode. And then finally in 1774, during the American Revolution, King George III approves the course of acts in response to the Boston Tea Party. On this date, music, just about, well, it seems like just a year ago. On this date in 2023, a Black Fender Stratocaster guitar that was smashed by Kurt Cobain sold at auction for nearly $600,000 at the Hard Rock Cafe in New York. The guitar was destroyed as Nirvana was working on their breakout album, Nevermind, in the early 90s. The instrument was signed by all three band members in a silver marker, and Cobain, who often misspelt his own name, signed the instrument Kurt, spelled K-U-R-D-T, Cobain, K-O-B-A-N. On this date, in 2001, American drummer Roger Hawkins died at the age of 75. He was best known for playing as part of the studio band known as the Muscle Shoals Rhythm Section. His drumming can be heard on a dozen of hit singles, including tracks by Percy Sledge, When a Man Loves a Woman, Aretha Franklin, Respect, Wilson Pickett, Mustang Sally. Hawkins also worked with Dwayne Allman, Joe Crocker, Paul Simpson, Bob Seger, Bonnie Bromlett, Boz Scaggs, Albert King, Traffic, Rod Stewart, Eric Clapton, Willie Nelson. The list goes on and on. Just a talent in music. Died on this date in 2021. I have not had this many phone dings in a long time. Sorry if you keep hearing my phone ding. On this date in 2016, the BPI reported that due to the huge successes of artists like Ed Sheeran, Sam Smith, One Direction, and Adele, that British artists accounted for one in every 6 albums sold worldwide in 2015. Adele, The Driving Force, 17.4 million copies of her third album, 25, were sold in just 6 weeks. That is literally incredible. Also, on this date in music history, in 2009, Michael Jackson delayed the opening 4 nights of the This Is It UK tour at the O2 Arena. Concert promoters AEG Live said the delay was necessary because the singer needed more time for dress rehearsals. The first show on July 8th was pushed back by 5 nights. 3 other July dates would now not take place until March 2010. However, we all know that that tour never came to fruition. Rihanna featuring Jay-Z had one of these songs of the 2000s on this date in history. It started a #1 run on the UK singles chart for 10 weeks. Umbrella, 10 consecutive weeks at #1 in the UK, making it the longest running #1 single since Wet Wet Wet's Love Is All Around. And Rihanna and Jay-Z won a Grammy Award for the Best Rap Song Collaboration for the track. On this date in 2003, soul singer James Brown, was pardoned for that was pretty good. I think that was okay. That's a passable James Brown for his past crimes in the U.S. state of South Carolina. Now, Brown had served 2.5-year prison term after an arrest on drug and assault charges in '88, but was granted a pardon by the State Department of Probation, Parole, and Pardon Services. Brown, who appeared before the board saying, "God bless America." My God, after their decision, that guy was just a character. On this date in 1998, the funeral of the crooner was held at the Church of the Good Shepherd in Beverly Hills. Mourners in attendance included Tony Bennett, Faye Dunaway, Tony Curtis, Liza Minnelli, Kirk Douglas, Angie Dickinson, Sophia Loren, Bob Newhart, Mia Farrow, and Jack Nicholson. In 1998, Tommy Lee from Motley Crue was sentenced to 6 months in jail after being found guilty of spousal abuse. In 1998, Black Sabbath drummer Bill Ward was taken to a hospital after he suffered a heart attack during rehearsals. On this date in 1997, U2 caused traffic chaos in Kansas City, Missouri. Yeah, that's right, Missouri. After they paid for traffic control to close down 5 lanes so they could shoot the video for The Last Night on Earth. Apart from major traffic jams, a passing Cadillac crashed into the plate glass window trying to avoid a cameraman. Thank you, U2, for adding to more chaos. On this date in 95, Don Henley married Sharon Summerall. Guests included Glenn Frey, Joe Walsh, David Crosby, Randy Newman, Jimmy Buffett, Jackson Brown, Billy Joel, and Sheryl Crow. Paul McCartney on this date in 1978 went to #1 on the U.S. singles chart with A Little Luck, his 6th U.S. #1 and solo. In 1978, the Buddy Holly story film premiered in Lubbock, Texas. The film features an Oscar-nominated lead performance by Gary Busey. And my, oh my, how times have changed. Let It Be, in the final feature film involving the Beatles, premiered simultaneously in London and Liverpool on this date in 1970, a week after the U.S. film's release. David Bowie on this date in 1968 aired a short play, The Pistol Shot, and it featured a young dancer. It was David Bowie. How about that? And let's see, anything else left for you today? The Who, Peter Townshend and Roger Daltrey of The Who grew tired of waiting for Keith Moon and John Entwistle, just move on, to arrive for their gig. So they took the stage with the bass player and the drum player of a local band that opened the show. When Moon and Entwistle finally arrived in the middle of the set, a fight broke out. Townshend hit Moon on the head with his guitar. And then, well, Moon and Entwistle quit the band and rejoined a week later, I'm sure after the pills weared off. And let's see. I think that's about it. Oh, Andy Williams. There you go. 1957, Andy Williams was at #1 on the UK charts with Butterfly, the U.S. singer's only #1 in the UK and the first of 40 hit singles from 1957 until 2002 on the UK chart. Born on this date, Busta Rhymes, the American hip-hop artist who had the 1998 UK #2 Turn It Up, Fire It Up and 2003 UK #3 hit, I Know What You Want. Rhymes has received 11 Grammy Award nominations for his work. And, well, that's about it. Two final ones for you. Here we go. Now we're getting somewhere. Cher. I Got You, babe. She was born on this date in history and remains a legend today. Joe Crocker, English singer and musician, with a little help from my friends. Up Where We Belong, born on this date too. At 10:55, we'll take a quick break and wrap up the day that was right after this.
I had an amazing experience with Dr. Haug and her team. I came here when I was 10 years old to get my braces on. Now I'm 28 years old, braces off, and I get so many compliments on my smile. It's helped me thrive in my career as a news reporter, and also as Miss Missouri USA, I took the stage with confidence, knowing my smile was gonna make me look like $1 million. I've never felt better and more confident because of my smile.
Life's better when you're under the American Family Insurance roof, because they know your house is home base for their dreams. Whether it's a kid like me aiming for the big leagues, ready? Future rocket scientist, or a budding prima ballerina. When you feel totally protected, your family's free to pursue their dreams. She's good.
Let's go.
American Family Insurance.
No matter the season, Play It Again Sports in Edwardsville has the gear the athletes need to get in the game. Whether you're shopping for the newest sports equipment or saving money on quality used gear, Play It Again Sports carries what you need to maximize performance to get the most out of every swing, kick, stroke, or shot. We'll even buy your used goods, paying cash on the spot. We carry all the gear for all the sports all year long. We're your hometown sporting goods store. Play It Again Sports, conveniently located at 4 Club Center Court in Edwardsville. Picture This and More has been a trusted name in the Alton community for more than 30 years, with the last 3 being right here on Broadway. We specialize in quality framing at affordable prices. We also feature works by local artists because we're proud of our community. If you have valued treasures to display and preserve, we're sure to have the perfect fit with our large selection of custom framing and display options. Whatever color, shape, or size, Picture This and More has the look you need. Stop by today and let us help you with your next project.
You're listening to Our Daily Show with CJ Nasello on Riverbender.com.
Bring it to me. Bring your sweet loving. Bring it all home to me. Yeah, 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 yeah. I know I like.
Bringing it on home at 10:58. A little bit of change. Thanks for always hanging out with me. We got a great show for all of you tomorrow. Let me tell you about it. How about that? I never give you previews. But this time I'm going to. You know, this is actually, I can say, the first vacation I've had in like a couple of years. I'm excited to head out of town on Wednesday and just kind of shake it off. And don't worry. I'm going to be responsible. I know that some are nervous, but I will be back on Tuesday. I do promise you that. I watched a video, though, of a guy who, got arrested in Vegas, and he decided that going to their city council and describing to them his woes would help him. Oh my God, if you haven't seen this yet, you are missing out. And you need to check this video out. Just type in the Vegas City Council meeting. Type in the guy. It just say guy complaining at Vegas City Council. It's wonderful. I mean, it makes you realize things go a lot worse in Vegas than coming back broke. Hey, coming up tomorrow, we're going to be talking to Gavin O'Brien. Gavin's going to be in the studio during the 9 to fill us in on his career. Sydney wrote a great write-up on Gavin, and he'll take us even further into his journey and what's next. He's playing at Busch Stadium today, and we're going to get insights on how that went and what's all coming down the pipeline. Luis will join us, and, you know, we'll see what other trouble I can cause in the Riverbend on a Tuesday, but that's for tomorrow, and that's all that's left for today. I'll see you until then. Just try your very best to, you know, stay out of jail.
He once knew, oh yes he did, he said he would.